9. Things you should never get from anyone for older people who like to be alone. Have you ever wondered about the special qualities that older adults who love solitude possess? As we enter the later stages of life, solitude isn't always a negative thing. For many seniors, this private time is not only a chance to rest, but also an opportunity to truly explore and develop themselves. After years of ups and downs, they have learned how to face themselves, the world, and those around them. When they spend time alone, they develop special qualities that help them live a peaceful, creative, and fulfilling life. In this essay, we will explore 9 things you should never accept from anyone. These are important warnings to help you maintain your independence, freedom, and happiness in your later years. 1. Imposing advice on how to live. When you live alone, many people around you, sometimes with good intentions, may try to impose their way of life on you. They assume that how they live is right and best for you, advising or even pressuring you to change your habits and lifestyle to suit their opinions. However, it's essential to realize that each person's life is different. You've experienced many years, and you know best what works for you. You don't need to change to please others. Anne, a 70-year-old woman living in France, chose to live alone in a small rural house after her husband passed away. Friends and family repeatedly advised her to move in with them in the city for convenience and safety. But Anne knew that city life would make her anxious and take away the joy she found in tending to her garden, something she'd been doing for 30 years. She decided to stick with her way of life, rejecting the imposed advice, and this allowed her to maintain peace and happiness in her later years. 2. Emotional pressure and guilt. One of the hardest things about living alone is facing emotional pressure from others. Some people know how to use guilt to pressure you into doing things you don't want to do or don't feel comfortable with. They might tell you that if you don't help or participate in what they ask, you'll be selfish or uncaring. George, a 78-year-old living in the U.S., faced pressure from his son. His son often asked for financial help, and every time George refused, his son made him feel guilty for not supporting his family. After enduring this for a long time, George realized that he needed to set clear boundaries to protect himself from this pressure. He understood that saying no didn't mean he didn't love his son. It was a way to protect his mental health. 3. Financial control. Finances are always a major concern for the elderly, especially when living alone. There are many cases where family, friends, or acquaintances try to interfere with their finances, often under the guise of helping or managing money for the elderly. However, not everyone has good intentions, and some may take advantage of trust to profit. James, an 80-year-old, was once a victim of financial fraud. After his wife passed away, an acquaintance offered to help manage his finances, giving what seemed like attractive investment advice. Trusting this person, James handed over all his life savings for them to manage. Within months, his money was gone, and the financial advisor disappeared. James deeply regretted not listening to his family and friends about keeping control of his finances. His story serves as a valuable reminder to never hand over financial control to others without careful consideration. 4. Unhealthy relationships. Living alone can sometimes make you feel lonely, and this loneliness may lead you to accept unhealthy relationships. Some people may exploit your solitude to establish relationships that you don't truly desire, or make you feel obligated to stay in a relationship that harms you. Margaret, a 74-year-old living in the UK, entered a relationship with an old friend from her youth. Although the relationship initially brought joy, Over time, she realized that this friend was trying to control every aspect of her life. Margaret began to feel stifled and lost the freedom she had cherished. Ultimately, she decided to end the relationship and reclaim the peace in her independent life, a decision that restored her confidence and happiness. 5. Empty promises. When living alone, it's easy to become the target of empty promises from people around you. These promises often involve help with finances, care, or even protection. However, such promises aren't always kept, and trusting unreliable people can lead to difficult situations. Albert, a 77-year-old living in Australia, was once promised by a close friend that he would help take care of his house and garden. This friend promised to visit weekly to keep things tidy. However, after some time, the friend stopped fulfilling his promises, leaving Albert to manage everything alone. This not only left him exhausted, but also made him lose trust in empty promises. 6. Pressure to change lifestyle. Your lifestyle is a significant part of your personal freedom. When you live alone, you have the right to establish your habits and routines that make you comfortable. However, many people may want you to change your habits to suit their views. They may advise you to change your schedule, diet, or even how you entertain yourself. Christine, 73 years old and living in the Netherlands, is an example of someone facing pressure to change her lifestyle. She always loved staying up late reading books, but her friends often advised her to go to bed early for better health. While knowing the advice came from a good place, Christine felt that reading at night was one of the greatest joys of her life. She decided not to change her habit and continued enjoying her life the way she wanted. 7. Inaccurate medical advice. Health is a crucial issue, especially when you live alone and don't have close family around to care for you. Many people may offer medical advice based on personal experience or unreliable sources. You should never accept these recommendations without consulting qualified medical professionals. Richard, 79 years old and living in the U.S., received many suggestions from friends about using herbal medicines instead of doctor-prescribed treatments. Even though his friends claimed these natural remedies were safe, Richard knew only his doctor had the necessary knowledge to decide what was best for his health. He rejected those suggestions and continued to trust his medical professionals. 8. Invasion of personal space. Personal space is incredibly valuable, especially when you live alone. However, many people may try to intrude on this space by asking to stay over, borrow belongings, or even visiting without notice. Maintaining your personal space helps you feel comfortable and free in your daily life. Edward, 76 years old and living in Canada, once faced an awkward situation when an old friend visited and wanted to stay at his house for an extended period without planning to leave. Initially, Edward found it hard to say no, as he didn't want to offend his friend. But over time, he realized that his friend's presence was disrupting his personal life. Eventually, he had to set clear boundaries and ask his friend to find another place to stay. 9. Excessive expectations from family. Although family is the greatest source of emotional support, they can sometimes set expectations that are too high for you to meet. They may expect you to take care of grandchildren, attend family events, or even make decisions about your life. Saying no doesn't mean you don't love your family. It simply means you're protecting your comfort and well-being. Linda, a 74-year-old living in Italy, once faced pressure from her daughter, who asked her to move in to help take care of her grandchildren. However, Linda knew she needed to maintain her independence, and taking care of her grandchildren would take away the personal time she had grown accustomed to. She gently declined the request, continuing to live her peaceful life on her own terms. Living alone isn't always easy, especially when you face external pressures and demands. However, protecting your independence, autonomy, and personal space is crucial to maintaining your freedom and happiness in your later years. The things you should never accept from anyone are the key to preserving peace and serenity in your life.